So, my name is Materman. I run the San Francisquito Creek Joint Powers Authority. Joint Powers Authority is a regional government agency, an independent agency that's formed by other local governments. And our JPA was formed by the cities of Palo Alto, Menlo Park, and East Palo Alto, San Mateo County through its flood control district, and the Santa Clara Valley Water District, which is the county-wide water agency in that county. The top image on the left is the flood of record, which was 1998. It's from Palo Alto. And the JPA was formed a year later in '99. We've been working on a project for the last 9 years that was completed in 2018. And actually the project dates back to the city council. The first record we have of it is from city council minutes in Palo Alto from 1956. And it was a discussion of the exact same project. This was the project under construction. East Palo Alto homes are on the right side of this image over here. This is the Palo Alto Golf Course. And this is what the project looks like actually at the end of construction in December 2018. Again, here East Palo Alto homes. It was a pretty large endeavor. 3 miles of shoreline, and I say shoreline even though it's the creek because this whole area is influenced by tides today. And the level of protection that this project affords is today's high tide plus 10 feet. So it's a very aggressive, large project. It had multiple partners, local, state, and federal, not federal actually, local, state, and private. And so we're glad to have that done. Now that that's done, we're going on to 2 other large projects. This is an image of the floodplains of the area. San Francisquito Creek is this blue line, which is the county line, dividing these cities. Here's Highway 101 and San Francisco Bay is at the top. The first project that I just showed you is from the bay to Highway 101. It actually extends in terms of restoration work all the way up to the bay. That project would get the red area, which is in both floodplains, bay and creek floodplain, out of the creek floodplain. The blue area is just the creek floodplain and green is just the bay, so that area is now just in the bay floodplain. And then we have a project upstream of Highway 101 that will provide up to 100-year protection for the areas on the other side of the highway or west, and that gets rid of the blue and the red, and just the bay floodplain is left. And then we have a project along the shoreline, which we actually are moving into design and construction in the next few years as well. The idea is to get that out of the bay floodplain. So the objective is, in terms of climate change, as I mentioned, there's a sea level rise objective of 10 feet above today's high tide, and we also have the objective of protecting against creek flow during extreme events. What that looks like is essentially building a project closest to Highway 101 down here to increase the capacity of the creek, such that any storm above the storm of record, any storm at or below the storm of record can pass through the channel safely without flooding. And then also look to upstream detention west of Highway 280 to take that to a 100-year event or greater. So that's the strategy. We have actually an environmental impact report out right now, and it's going to be out for public comment through June 19th. You can find it on our website, which is sfcjpa.org, if you're interested in this project or the other projects. Interestingly, in terms of the shoreline, the project along the shoreline that we're going to be starting design on shortly is this image shows some of the complexities of working on the shoreline, not just in our area, but really throughout the Bay Area. This is a pretty short stretch of shoreline along East Palo Alto, about 1/3 of a mile in this whole picture here. And what it shows is you have habitat-rich marshes or potential habitat in salt ponds or other, let's say, non-tidal marshes on one side, and then you have sometimes a levee or a berm, or really in some cases nothing, but it still constitutes perhaps the Bay Trail, and that's an important asset for the communities. And so in order to provide protection for the built areas, you need to be sensitive to what's in the built areas, including water infrastructure like this channel, utility infrastructure like these towers and poles, schools, housing, which can be right up against these levees or berms, and then also either built development or proposed new development in the case of this image. And so it provides, or it creates real constraints for working in the area when you have the habitat on one side and you have the assets on the other side. But it also creates opportunities, and that's one of the important things I think that we found at the JPA, is not just opportunities by having jurisdictions work together, but also opportunities by partnering with others. In this area, Highway 101 cuts through the image. Here, the bay is up here again. It's about 6 miles across this image, and the orange indicates state highways or roadways. The yellow indicates utility infrastructure, electrical and gas, and the blue indicates water infrastructure, and then the purple indicates developed or proposed developed areas. And the green indicates either current or potential marsh areas that can provide and help provide flood protection in a way that sustains the marshes. And that's been a really important part of the project that we built, and it's an important part of the project that we're moving forward on. And just as PG&E contributed $10 million to the previous project, we're now working with PG&E to understand kind of the benefits of the next project for these two electrical substations. SFPUC has the main water supply that comes under the bay and right here, and so they're going to be provided protection. Facebook is a funding partner of the project, and they're going to be provided protection. So you have a lot of these private assets that you need to think about, not in a traditional public works way, but in a way of how do we create a project that has multiple beneficiaries and take advantage of those beneficiaries at the same time as try to address the constraints and the costs of having all these assets in the area. We're also looking at science, and I think it's in my last slide. We're looking at science in terms of up to 2100. We've been working with Point Blue Conservation Science, and the county has through a county program, and looking at what the marshes will look like over the next 80 years with increasing sea levels and increasing deposition of sediment, and trying to create kind of a metric of habitat, carbon stock, which is really carbon sequestration in the marshes, and the benefits of wave attenuation, which is what the top image gets to, is how can these, what do we expect these marshes to look like naturally if we did nothing? What can we do to increase their sustainability as marshes, and what role can they play to help us with flood protection? So this is an interesting endeavor that I think other shoreline projects will want to take a close look at, and it will inform our decision making along the shoreline. Lastly, just to talk about kind of where we're going with this, the creek project is shown in this purple line here. It flows out to the bay this way. This is the city of East Palo Alto floodplain. And even though we built the creek project and got them out of the creek floodplain, where water coming from the bay that would spill out of the creek, there's still this bay floodplain here, as I mentioned earlier. And the next project, this is an image of the new creek project that was built. Here's the new levee in purple, which is similar to that. And basically what we're doing is we're connecting into the creek project and going north along the levee. We just got a major grant from the state that's being matched mostly by the city of East Palo Alto and to some degree by the JPA to get us through construction of this part of the levee here, extending north along East Palo Alto. It would get about 90% of the properties in East Palo Alto that are in the bay floodplain out of the floodplain, and again it would go beyond the FEMA standards to look at the 10 feet of sea level rise above today's high tide. We'd also built a levee, we will build a levee along the north side of Highway 84 and around the substation. This levee would not be to the FEMA standards or to the sea level rise standards, but it would be to enable the restoration of these two ponds, which total over 600 acre of potential restoration areas. And that's it. Thank you very much.